Symbolic Interactionism, Meaning and Human Behavior. Symbolic interactionism is a way of understanding society that focuses on small details of everyday life, especially the meanings people attach to their actions, words, and interactions. Instead of looking at society only through big structures such as governments, economies, or institutions, symbolic interactionism looks closely at the simple moments that shape how people think, feel, and behave. It argues that human beings do not just react to the world automatically. Instead, they interpret it, give it meaning, and then act according to those meanings. This makes everyday social life much more than a set of routines. It becomes a constant process of communication, negotiation, and interpretation. A smile, a handshake, a pause, a gesture, a compliment, or even silence can all carry meanings that influence how people behave and how they see themselves. According to symbolic interactionism, people create society through interaction. An individual learns how to behave by observing others, communicating with them, and understanding the symbols used around them. Symbols are not just objects. They include words, gestures, roles, rules, and even emotions. For example, the word home is more than a physical place. It represents comfort, safety, family, and belonging. These meanings are not natural or fixed. They are created socially. A wedding ring is another example. It is simply a small piece of metal, yet it symbolizes loyalty, responsibility, love, and partnership because society has agreed to give it that meaning. Without shared meanings, communication would collapse, and people would not understand one another. A central idea of symbolic interactionism is that people develop a sense of self through interaction. A person is not born knowing who he or she is. Instead, individuals shape their identity from childhood by seeing how others treat them, respond to them, and talk to them. This is called the looking glass self. A child learns that he or she is smart, shy, loud, or kind based on the messages received from family, friends, teachers, and even strangers. Over time, people internalize these social messages and start believing them. They behave in ways that match these expectations. In this way, a person's self-image becomes a social creation built from the reflections provided by others. Symbolic interactionism also explains that people constantly adjust their behavior based on how they think others see them. Every social situation feels like a small stage where people perform different roles. A person behaves differently with parents than with friends, and differently at work than at home. This does not mean people are pretending. It simply means that different situations require different meanings and expectations. A teacher, a doctor, a student, or a shopkeeper all act in specific ways because society has created symbols and rules for these roles. People learn to follow these expectations in order to fit in, gain approval, and avoid embarrassment. Another important idea is that meanings are not permanent. They can change based on time, culture, or new experiences. A symbol that once represented fear can later represent strength. A job that once seemed unimportant can become meaningful after someone learns its purpose. Even common gestures can have different meanings in different societies. A thumbs-up sign represents approval in many countries, but in other cultures it can be rude or offensive. This shows that meaning is flexible, socially constructed, and constantly negotiated. Symbolic interactionism helps explain why conflicts sometimes arise from misunderstandings. Since people interpret symbols differently, two individuals can experience the same event but assign different meanings to it. For example, one person might see silence during a conversation as respect, while another person may interpret it as anger or rejection. A comment that one person considers a harmless joke may be seen by another as an insult. These differences in meaning can lead to confusion or tension. Understanding symbolic interactionism helps people realize that human behavior is often shaped by interpretation, rather than intention. This perspective also helps us understand important aspects of society such as identity, relationships, stigma, and social change. For example, labeling theory explains that when society labels someone negatively, such as calling someone a troublemaker or a failure, the individual may start to believe that label and act according to it. This is because the label becomes a powerful symbol that shapes how others treat the person and how the person sees himself or herself. On the other hand, positive labels can encourage confidence, hope, and improvement. In relationships, symbolic interactionism shows that communication is more than exchanging words. Couples, friends, and families develop shared symbols over time, such as private jokes, habits, or traditions. These symbols strengthen emotional bonds and help people feel connected. When the meaning of these symbols changes, relationships can shift as well. For example, a certain phrase or gesture that once meant affection can later become a source of irritation if the emotional meaning behind it changes. Symbolic interactionism also plays a role in social change. When people begin to reinterpret symbols, society slowly transforms. For example, work used to be seen mainly as a duty, but in modern times many people see it as a source of identity and personal achievement. Clothing styles, gender roles, and family structures have changed because society redefined the meanings associated with them. Social movements often start by challenging old symbols and introducing new ones. This shows how powerful meanings can be in shaping human thought and behavior. Ultimately, symbolic interactionism reminds us that society is not something outside of us. It is something we create every day through our words, gestures, and interpretations. It teaches us to pay attention to the small details of communication because these details shape identities, relationships, and social structures. When we understand how meaning works, we become more aware, more empathetic, and more capable of understanding the behaviors of others. It also helps us reflect on our own actions and the meanings we attach to them. Human behavior is not random. It is deeply connected to the symbolic world people share, negotiate, and sometimes struggle to understand. If you liked this explanation and want more educational content on sociology, psychology, and human behavior, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so that you never miss an update.